All right, guys, we're going to get started. First of all, how many of you guys are in high school? Raise your hand. Okay, cool. So most of you. All right, perfect. So yeah, this is going to be really relevant to you. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. All right, so sisters obviously not responding to my salam. Let's try that one more time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay, thank you. All right, so this is the welcome to the high school advice panel. This is going to be pretty awesome stuff. We're going to be covering a lot of great topics that are relevant to you being in high school, any grade that you're in. So one of the things we're going to be talking about is time management. That's one of the first things that they'll cover. Another thing that they'll be talking about is college prep. And of course, within time management, within college prep, there's so much stuff, especially in the college prep section. You know, there's college apps, there's the SATs, there's just so much stuff. And honestly, I understand that sometimes you're sitting in this type of program, you're like, oh yeah, this is going to be kind of boring or this and that. But trust me, this is very valuable to you. Now, I wish I had something like this when I was in high school a few years ago. Right, because I kind of learned the things the hard way. I kind of had to do things, you know, like I learned from my own mistakes, kind of, right? But you guys have people who have gone through this stuff already, and they're going to give you the best practices. Hey, don't do this because these are the mistakes we made, these are the things we failed at, and these are the things we succeeded at, and it'll help you just make the most of, your high school career, your high school time in high school, inshallah. All right, so the speakers that we have today, we have a great lineup. First of all, we have Shuaib, who graduated in 2016 from PESH, Plano East, senior high, and he is an IB diploma recipient. He goes to UTD, University of Texas at Dallas. He's the president of the MSA, and he's vice president of UNICEF at PESH, or he was when he was at PESH. All right, so our second speaker today is Asim Ghazi, who is currently a third-year student at UTD. I have a feeling UTD is going to be mentioned a lot. So studying electrical engineering with a minor in math, and Asim graduated high school as a member of the Wiley High School varsity soccer team and as the valedictorian of the class of 2014. So he's a pretty smart guy, mashallah. All right, so next we have Sister Hannah. That's how you say your name, right? Hannah. Okay, cool. So Sister Hannah is second year at University of Texas at Dallas, right? Studying psychology and child learning and development, graduated from Plano East Senior High School, wants to pursue counseling as a potential career choice, and she graduated distinguished from Plano East Senior High School, as she corrected herself in her WhatsApp message. All right, and then finally, we have Sister Anika, and I apologize if I'm stuttering between each of these people because one emailed me, two WhatsApped me, and one texted me, so I'm kind of going through this. So Sister Anika is a second-year university student at UTD again, majoring in healthcare studies, wants to pursue healthcare administration. She graduated distinguished from Plano East in 2015. So it's a pretty awesome lineup. I hope you guys enjoy this program and find it valuable. We do have food afterwards, so stay tuned for that. Look forward to that. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, we have questions that you can submit. We're going to have a Q&A session in just a few minutes. So if you have your cell phone or mobile device, you can go to that link, submit the questions that you have along the way during the program, and they'll be happy to answer them at the end. All right, guys, let's get into this. Enjoy. Who's going first? Sisters? Okay. You got it?
Okay, so first thing is work. How many of you guys actually have a job in high school? So that's pretty good. At least my recommendation would be that you don't really need to start working until senior year, maybe second semester, because junior year is a pretty serious year for applying colleges and taking all your tests, and work takes out a lot of time from that, especially if you're a procrastinator like I was. So I would just recommend, unless you really, really need to or want to, I would recommend just not working until senior year.
Okay, so I did not start working, exactly as Anika said, I did not start working until my second semester of senior year, and the reason being is because I was more focused on, my grades and, getting into college. That's like your main priority, and work is just something that you have to, unless you're in that position where you really need the money, and you guys would know if you're in that position, it shouldn't be something that is of your concern. It's only for the experience, and that's why when I did start working, I did it at a tutoring center, so I would get the experience of working with kids because, as he said, I wanted to do counseling specifically with kids. So that's why I focused on something that I thought would benefit me if I was to get a job. So, don't make this as, I need the money to go out. That's not, your goal right now is to get those grades that you need, get those SAT or ACT scores that you guys need to get into college, work on your college apps, and then second semester of senior year, when you have all of that figured out, then you can start worrying about, getting a job and getting the money you need.
Yeah, I think the sisters did a pretty good job with actually telling you when to get the job and how to approach that. I know tutoring is an awesome job from experience because it gives you review. It lets you review the things that you've already learned in school. And I tutored till this day, so it's a really awesome job. What I guess should talk about then is getting the job, right? Getting the actual job. I mean, it's not as simple as, of course, like just going in and saying, okay, I want a job, let me work here. Right? To first get that job, you need to have some sort of background, like a resume of some sort. It doesn't have to be very complex. They know that this is your first time getting a job. A lot of times you won't have work experience or anything like that. From there, I actually started off working minimum wage, so it is completely okay. Like if you go in, you're like, oh man, I want like $20 an hour. It's not reasonable at all for you to just jump in and get $20 an hour. You have to work your way up. Like I know I'm working now, this is my third job, just like the sisters mentioned, which I thought was awesome. I started working my second semester in senior year, and now I'm working at UTD, and then I work on my own as a tutor. And alhamdulillah, yeah, you make decent money, but I still remember to this day that I started off at a tutoring center, working minimum wage, and part of my job actually at the very end was cleaning a bathroom because they said that I did that well, so I got stuck doing it. So it's okay to get some sort of job like that. What you need to keep in mind is don't be greedy at first. Get what you can, show that you work hard, get them as a recommendation on your resume, and then at your next job you'll get more money. So that's all I can add on that in that aspect.
Yeah, personally, I did not take a job. I actually still haven't taken a job. I decided to focus more on volunteering instead of taking a job because I got more experience in the field that I wanted with volunteering. I'm doing pre-med, so most of my volunteering came out of hospital time where my mom works. So I got more experience doing that, and it was more related to what I wanted to do as a career, for my career, rather than taking a job at, tutoring. They're great jobs, but they wouldn't give me the experience I wanted for my career choice.
You want me to start? Okay. Okay, so the next one is social life. So I think, the main thing to say here is too much of anything is a bad thing. So just know where to limit yourself. It is important to, get out and take a break from studying, but it is also important that you don't do it to the point where you're not studying or you're not getting the grades that you make. You guys should be in that position where and you can, make out whether you should be going out. There are going to be days, and I've been in this position more times than I can count, where you're not able to do something you really want to do because you have an exam the next day or you have something very important like the SAT on Saturday. And, it's okay because something like the SAT is going to benefit you way more than going to see a movie or going out with friends like roller skating or something, right? Other than that, I guess something else with social life is, the friends that you choose to hang out or surround yourself with. They do have a very big influence on you. That's something that I did learn in high school. When I started the hijab, that's when I feel like my real friends really came out and they showed me that they really did care about me because, for the girls, anyone who does wear hijab, you guys know how big of a decision it is and how big of an impact it does have on your life. And when I did start, and I did start kind of early, it really showed me those friends that, were friends with me because of who I am and not because of how I look. Other than that, you know what I'm saying?
Did you have anything to add to that? Cool. I think that was a pretty good summary. Yeah, just watch who your friends are because they do really impact you. I think the next thing we have is clubs. So in terms of clubs, I think the most important thing is do something that you're interested in. Don't just join a club. I know a lot of parents feel like, okay, I'm just going to stick my kid in as many clubs. I'm just going to encourage them to join as many clubs as they can because all the colleges love seeing tons of clubs. No, they don't. All right? They want to see that every single club you join, you're passionate about and you become a leader in. Right? They want to see leadership skills. If you're just literally, think about it. You always have to think about it in terms of what the college is thinking, right? That's what we're all going towards. Or, we'll talk about what other than college and all that. But when you're actually thinking about getting into college, you need to think in terms of the admission counselors, what they're thinking, right? Their mindset. If they just see member of this, member of this, member of this, member of this, member of math club, member of wudu club, member of Muslim club, member of this club, does it really make any difference to them? No. But if they see, okay, leader of or officer of the National Honor Society, officer of the National Spanish Honor Society, officer of the MSA, right? President of the MSA, things like that, that really stands out because then it shows that, okay, if I let this kid come into my college, one day when he graduates, he'll go make an impact and then he'll always be of my alma mater. He'll always be a UTD student. He'll always be a UT student. Because as you can tell, right, all these Harvard grads, whoever is a president, don't they talk about what school they went to? There has to be, there's always an exchange, right, in terms of colleges and high schools and stuff like that. There's always an exchange. Why is the college bringing you? Because they expect that once you graduate, they'll give you enough education so that you can excel in life, and then you can always say, hey, I came from that college. So when you get a Nobel Prize, you'll be like, I came from UTD, or I came from A&M, or I came from Texas Tech, right? That's what the college is getting out of it. So I think that's all I have in terms of clubs. So join what interests you.
Yeah, and as Asam was saying, to get officer positions, more or less you have to show commitment, and that's the biggest part to colleges. They want to see how committed you are to something, and if you would stay committed if you came to their college. So yeah, getting an officer position means that you showed a good 2 or 3 years of strong commitment to that club, whether it be in your junior high school that you were in the club and you followed up in senior high school, or you got involved in senior year and you consistently went at it and you have on your resume a bunch of volunteering and events to show that you did for that club. All of those things are what they're looking at. And so that's about it for clubs. There's not much to say there. All right. And moving on to what I consider one of the most important topics is sleep. Personally, I did not follow this well. In high school, on average, I'd sleep maybe 3 to 4 hours a day. And it wasn't good for me, especially junior year. I can't blame my IB for that. I kind of did that to myself by not balancing my workload properly. But I saw that in senior year, sleep isn't just help you get energy for the next day, but whatever you learned in that day, when you go to sleep, you're reinforcing it. People say you learn through osmosis if you sleep on a book. What it really is that you're reading stuff out of that book, and when you fall asleep, that's the last thing you're thinking about. And while you're sleeping, it repeatedly gets processed over and over until you actually learn that information. So in senior year, I tried helping myself out and got at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep a day. And I did that on average for the most part. And I did considerably better in senior year.
I'm actually going to put the next two points together when I'm speaking. Shrib did an awesome job. I don't know if I can add anything to sleep other than if you do play sports, you need to get your sleep in. Like, I still remember the days that if I went to practice and I didn't get to sleep before, I would perform terribly. And a lot of subjects, especially math and science, they are like sports subjects, right? You're not memorizing before the test. You're going in, you don't know what problems they're going to be, and they're presented, and you need to be able to perform on the spot. So it's basically like sports. If you don't get the rest the night before, you're not going to perform. So make sure you get your sleep, and then eating correctly. Before a test, don't ever, even if it's 5 minutes earlier, you have to wake up just to get some breakfast in before you have to take, especially if you have to take a test that day, or if you have practice, football practice, soccer practice, whatever, right? Or volleyball practice, or basketball, soccer, whatever. You need to get that breakfast in, because not only is it better for your health, but that energy really makes a difference. If you're in your fourth period, third period class, I forgot how it works, and you're sitting there thinking, oh, I really want to eat. When the teacher's trying to teach you how, like, A plus B equals whatever, A squared plus B squared, you're like, no, apples plus bananas does not equal carrots. So it doesn't make, it's not going to make as much sense to you if you're sitting there hungry, right? You need to, I guess, quench your thirst and hunger before you can quench your thirst for knowledge, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, so I'm just going to say a little bit about sleep, and then I'll go into eating as well. For me, I was very good with time management, and that was one of my strong points, I think, in high school and in college. So I always set this limit to myself where by 11 o'clock, no matter how much I still had to do, I would close everything and I would go to bed, because, if I didn't get the right amount of sleep I needed, the next day would be useless to me. I wouldn't be focused. So, you have, like, a part of being able to sleep is learning how to do time management. Don't wait, don't procrastinate, don't wait till the last minute to get assignments done or to study for tests. Try to plan out like a week ahead. At least that's what I did. For eating, I had this very bad habit, and I still have it to this day, of skipping breakfast. And it is the worst possible thing you guys can do in your life. And it is something that I'm still working on myself. I have this problem in the morning where I cannot eat, and it doesn't work with me. But it is like, I try so hard, and you guys really have to try. Breakfast is so important for you. I would go and take the SAT and the ACT, and I would not have anything in my system because I couldn't eat. And it's, if, like Asim said, if you can wake up 5 minutes earlier and you can just get something down, I would try to grab like a granola bar on the way out and see if I could eat it like later. But it was like, to this day, I'm still trying to figure this out. But don't skip breakfast. If anything, breakfast is that one meal that you guys should not skip.
So for sleep, I did the same thing as Hannah, except I like sleeping more, so I'd be done by 10, no matter whether I had finished my work or not, and that also forces you to get your work done. So at 10 o'clock, I'd pack up everything, and 10:30, 11, I'd have to be in bed. But if you know that, I have to be in bed by 10:30, then that pushes you to actually get your work done. And that does make a big difference, because there were a couple of days junior year where I had to pull an all-nighter, and that affected my performance way more than when I was actually well-rested. And eating, same thing as Hannah. I can't eat in the mornings. I get very nauseous if I try to eat right after I get up. And that's also something I had to fix once I started getting in college, or actually once I started taking the SATs. Because, like, if you've taken your SAT before, like once you get to like the second or third section, your stomach starts grumbling and you don't have a break for a while. So like the mornings where my mom forced me to eat actually did make a difference, and I was more focused in those tests. And those are actually the tests I did much better on, when I had a full night's of sleep and I had eaten in the morning. So that's what I have. Okay, so for prayer and masjid activities, I would just say it's really important to have one thing that pushes you back. For me, all throughout my high school years, at least for the sisters, we have halakas every Friday night, and that's the one thing I always came to in high school. No matter what, I try to make it to every one. And then through that, whatever regular program you have at the masjid, that involves you more into the other events happening in the masjid, and whenever you have time, you can. That's also a great place to meet friends. You surround yourself with people that are close to the masjid, close to the deen.
Okay, so I'm going to focus more on the prayer aspect of this. I visit a lot of high schools and middle schools on Fridays specifically, and I help out with their Friday Jummahs with my dad. And what I've noticed is the lack of attendance by both the sisters and the brothers, which I find really sad, especially when you have these prayers that are mandatory on you guys, and you have this option to pray in school, which a lot of us, when we were going in school, it wasn't an option. It was something we had to, start trying to move forward, and it's something that we're trying to keep going. It's really important that you guys realize that you have this option in school and that you use it to advantage, because, they may just go, okay, people aren't showing up, what's the point of having these prayers? What's the point of, leaving this room empty for you guys to pray in if no one shows up? And you have to realize that these prayers are mandatory on you guys. Dhuhr prayer is mandatory. Jummah for the guys, you guys have to be able to listen to a halaqah or a lecture, a khutbah. And sisters, you guys have the same thing. You guys can come and listen. I mean, it's available to you guys, and you guys need to start using that to your advantage, because, it's not only that it's mandatory, but prayer is such a great escape from just everything that's happening around you. At least for me, I could be really stressed, and I just take 5 minutes to pray, and it's like just you and, it's just you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you're just, it's like this, the feeling is amazing.
Yeah, I think what Sister Hannah said at the very end was basically what I wanted to talk about. Is you'll see actually in a lot of success, if you read a lot of, how do I be successful books, or there's a book actually that me and Brother Hadi, if y'all know, if the brothers know, we went kind of through and did like a quick presentation over the art of manliness or whatever, to talk about like hygiene and stuff like that, which is a point on there as well. It actually has an entire section on what they call meditation, because if you don't, and in their words, if you don't have any time of the day where you're just sitting there and thinking about what you're getting done in life, then how do you assess yourself? How do you know that I'm doing the correct things and getting what I need done? How am I doing in life? You have to sit there and assess that. And the perfect time for you is your one-on-one with Allah, basically. You're scheduled, 5 times scheduled, one-on-ones with Allah. Your prayers, right? Your Fajr prayer, Dhuhr prayer, Asr prayer, Maghrib, Isha. And I know, as the sisters were saying as well, that I know in Wiley, I know Plano ISD is really good with Jumu'ah, but I know any of the brothers who go to Wiley, they can attest to this, that they actually used to give us problems about praying Jumu'ah in school. So, my dad's an awesome guy, and he knows a lot about the laws and stuff like that. You'll see him always politically active. So he actually went up to Wiley and had an entire debate and everything with these assistant principals and a principal, because there was one assistant principal, not going to mention his name. I don't think he's there anymore, actually. He was, to be frank, I think he was racist. So he would not budge. So my dad literally had to bring the book, brought the law and said, I don't know what you're talking about. I can sue the school right now if y'all don't let my sons pray Jummah in school. So he was like, okay, well, we can't lend y'all a room, but what we can do is, I think a lot of the Wiley brothers might be doing this now, or if y'all aren't, y'all are allowed to, you can actually get a whole hour off from school, excused, with a note from Imam to come to EPIC and go back. So that's what we used to do. Basically the moral of the story is that if you really try to follow your religion, there's nothing stopping you. Even in public school, there's nothing stopping you. You just need to go out there and almost fight for your rights. You have the right to pray in school. You have the right to go to attend Jumu'ah prayers. Do so, because it's a blessing. I'm telling you, it's a blessing that you have the time and you have the energy and you have the health to even do that in the first place.
Yeah, I think Brother Asim and Sister Hannah and Sister Nika really wrapped that up. The only thing I would say is that, if you come to the masjid, it doesn't even have to be for an event. Anything as small as just coming for Isha prayer on a daily or even semi-daily basis, anything that just brings you back to the masjid, at least in a repeated manner, will always help you grow your connection. And everything that you do is a building experience. So if you're coming maybe once a week for Isha, as you get more and more comfortable and your timing open up, you start coming 2x, 3 times, until you come every day for Isha. Then you can start working on coming for Maghrib. Like I said, everything is an improvement process right now. So don't worry that, I'm not as good as a person next to me in coming to the masjid or whatever you're doing. It's that you should be worried about improving yourself and how you can make yourself a better person. So then moving on, hygiene. I'll say in the high school, when I was in high school, I didn't experience many problems with hygiene personally or socially. I didn't know anyone who would have poor hygiene. But I would say if you are in a gym class or any sports, and if you're uncomfortable with showering there, get comfortable with it, because people notice when you walk out of gym without changing your clothes or without taking a shower, and it's really hard to sit with those people while you're eating lunch. So that's something like, hygiene, it's not just social topic, it's also Islamic too, that we should always be clean ourselves. So that's something to keep in mind. How clean you are reflects what the kind of person you are, and that in turn determines what kind of friends you will make in high school.
I think if I remember correctly, last year when we did this, I think I added this point, right? So, alhamdulillah, I feel like I actually had problems with a lot of the brothers, I think 2 years ago. I used to stand next to brothers in prayer, and it used to be unbearable, right? But alhamdulillah, I probably should have removed this topic because I feel like y'all have actually improved. I don't know if it's because of talks that people are actually talking about it nowadays, but I think we've honestly improved on that aspect. But just like Shribe said, I think one of the weaknesses still is, once you're done with gym or anything like that, you need to, of course, like change your clothes, do something. Don't like exercise in your school clothes, because I know some people do that and that's kind of gross. Please don't do that. And secondly, I think with the hygiene, I know we always talk about like doing da'wah, like you're in public school, you need to talk to your friends, about Islam, things like that. Honestly, I think the biggest form of da'wah is doing the right thing and not smelling bad. Because if you smell bad, I don't care what you tell me, I'm not going to listen to it, right? If you look like you just woke up, right? No matter what you tell me about how beautiful the religion is and how you have to wake up in the morning and so disciplined, and you have to wake up in the morning and pray Fajr, so you don't have the discipline to even comb your hair, that doesn't make any sense to me. So please just take care of, your hygiene, deodorant. I know a lot of the overseas parents don't realize what deodorant is. So for all the youth who don't know what deodorant is, you probably can't ask your dad or your mom. Your mom maybe, but you can come by and ask me later what brand to get. I don't know. But please do wear some, because I know some parents might not realize it, but I had the luck of having older cousins who taught me about it. I have an older brother too, so in case if you don't have any older siblings, older cousins, and you're the first one to like hit the age of 15 and go through the rages of puberty, then please do wear deodorant, and you can talk to me privately or Shribe or something, or for the sisters, I'm sure, maybe, I don't know, y'all can talk to them about deodorant.
I think they covered that well, so we're just going to move on to exercising or sports. This is going to focus more on the sister side. One of my biggest regrets in high school and in middle school, really, was not trying out for basketball, because I used to love playing basketball, but I was always so scared because of the fact that I wore hijab. But if you guys enjoy like a sport, or you enjoy, tennis, softball, basketball, soccer, whatever they have, and you enjoy it, or you want to try out for it, I say don't be afraid, go for it, because I would so badly regret not going for it. Other than that, exercising, just keep your body in shape, I guess.
You got it.
For the guys, I know Shribe talked about showering and stuff. Just like with prayer, they can make religious accommodations. No one can force you to do anything out of your own will, right? This is a public school. You can ask to shower privately. You can ask to do whatever you'd like to fulfill the rights your religion has on you, and the rights other people have on you, where you shouldn't be smelling bad in your next class. So there are religious accommodations that can be made. In terms of exercising in sports, I know it might be hard to get some exercise in for the brothers who might not like sports as much, and I completely understand that. Everyone has their own thing. For the brothers who don't, like sports, I would say still make some time to do at least some form of exercise, because if you don't make the habit right now, then I'm telling you it's going to bite you in the butt in college, because when you're in college, you are all on your own, and time management is your number one thing that it haunts you all the time. You have to be responsible with your time. If you never used to make time for exercising, do you think when you get to college you're going to make time for exercising? No, you're not. So if you don't start now, I don't know when you're going to start. It's almost like I give this analogy all the time, with sports. Before the athletes, these professional athletes, best in the world at what they do, what do they have before the regular season? Off-season, preseason. Why? They could just jump into the game, can't they? They're bosses. Like if they come over here and they'll moss all of y'all at the same exact time. They don't need any practice, you would think, but they still have preseason because anyone needs some form of ramping up before they can actually get started with what they need to do in life. And that analogy applies to everything, whether it's getting into college, working hard until the very last day, things like that. So that's all I have in terms of exercising in sports.
All right, then I guess we can move on. Personally, I don't have much to add to exercising in sports other than definitely make the time because, other than looking good, it helps you feel good and you perform better when you're an active person. So then talking about time management, that brings us to studying. I have to say studying is one of the most important things you can do in high school. What you do in class is not enough to keep up. And you need to start getting into the habit because for sure in college, what you do in class is definitely not enough for what you have to know for the tests. So like for studying, dedicate a solid 30 minutes without distraction. That's important. Don't keep your phone on you. Don't be snapping people while you're studying. Sending those tweets is like, oh, I'm so tired in the library. That doesn't help. You're constantly distracted by something. When you study, even if it is for 15 minutes, you need to give your full focus and set a goal for yourself so that you can meet that. And when you find out what your capacity is, you can start setting your goal consistently on what you need to do. But like I said, studying is imperative because the teachers in class, they help you introduce the material, but a lot of times the book has a lot more details that you'll need to know for the test. All these teachers are expecting that you keep up with the book and their reading assignments. So yeah, make sure that you're picking up on those little nuances and everything and that you know all the material, not just what's on the PowerPoint.
Yeah, I have 2 points to add, or 2 points to kind of emphasize with studying. The number one thing, I know everyone loves to cram. It's almost like some pathway to fame. Like if you say, oh yeah, I studied like 10 hours last night. I think that's absolutely stupid. I don't think you honestly need to study 10 hours the night before a test. That doesn't even make sense. The statement doesn't even make sense because you come home at 5, you studied straight 10 hours and then when'd you sleep? When'd you eat? It doesn't make it, when'd you pray, right? So, I got you. So, I think the number one thing in terms of studying is you need to do it on a daily basis. Like Shraib was saying, I'm telling you that 10, 15 minutes every day coming home and just reviewing what you learned is way better than cramming 10 hours the night before. Yes, you do need to cram a little bit in the sense that you need to, the day before the test, spend like an hour, an extra amount of time, an hour or two studying for that test. But I know the thing that I go by is I always keep up with the readings, the notes. My wife is in attendance. She can attest to that, right? She can attest that I'm always following through the book constantly. I'm always trying to keep up with, okay, the professor taught this. I need to make sure my notes are up to par. And the second tip, that brings me into the second tip. High school, I know you might not have to use the book as much, but the biggest thing, the one thing that taught me a lot in terms of college is my senior year, for whatever reason, Allah blessed me with some sort of epiphany that I said, okay, you know what, I need to start reading the book. I guess maybe seeing my big brother and how he would read books and take notes from that. I used to, in my second semester, senior year, I actually had the best grades I had throughout because I sat there, again, preseason, training camp, right? If you don't prepare for it now, you're not going to be ready for it later. I used to actually sit there and read my government book and take notes from it, vocab, actual notes. I know a lot of high school students might not do that, but I'm telling you it's a really good practice to prepare you for college because the stereotype of professors is that they suck. There's going to be a lot of awesome ones, and the truth is there's going to be a lot of sucky ones. And for those sucky ones, you need to be able to read a book and teach yourself.
Okay, so I'm just going to add they kind of covered it, but I just want to make one point. For anyone that does study the night before or, cram the night before, I wouldn't even consider that studying, because are you really, after you walk out of that exam with all of that knowledge you memorized in like the 3 or 4 hours that night, do you really remember any of it? Is it really worth your time to waste those nights away studying for 3 or 4 hours just to memorize it for one exam the next day and then never look back on it? You're going to school to learn about new things that you want to remember in your life, history, science, all of these things you want to remember. There's so many important things that can help you, like law and math. Some of this math does apply in college, and if you study the night before for a few hours just to memorize it for one exam and then never look back on it, it's not going to do you any good.
And I would say one of the most important things is just figuring out what works best for you. That was high school for me. I had to figure out which way I could study best. Some people prefer reading the textbook. Some people prefer going over notes. Some people like flashcards. You just have to figure out what helps you study better. And studying the night before is never anyone's way to study better. So that's it for that. I'm going to start off the ranking GPA and I'll finish. I think we'll
All right, what do you guys think about that? Was it good? Yeah? All right, cool. Yeah, like I said, I didn't have this when I was your age in high school. So, really take advantage of this. If you have any questions for them individually, as they mentioned afterwards, they're nice enough to actually give you some time and answer those questions, inshallah. Or even if they didn't say it, I'm telling you they will. No, anyway. So, yeah, if one thing I wanted to mention is if you are sitting here and you're not taking notes or you haven't jotted down anything, that's pretty much saying you're not taking this seriously. So I highly encourage you to at least jot down the main points that you're taking away. Because, again, you listen to these presentations, you hear some of the awesome points they're making, you think you're going to remember it, but believe me, by the time you have the food, the cookies and all that stuff, you're going to forget. You're going to forget everything, right? So jot those points down, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on your notebook or notepad or whatever you have. And I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds right now. Take out whatever you have in front of you. Jot down the 5 biggest takeaways you've had so far from this short session that we just had. This will make a huge difference, and that way, even tomorrow, a couple of days, you can go back and you can remind yourself of this advice, so that you don't forget. Okay? So do this 30 seconds, guys. Just take out something, jot down the 5 biggest takeaways, and then we'll move on. What should you write? You write whatever your own biggest takeaways are. Every one of you has something different that you might have taken away. Some things are obviously going to be similar, but for yourself, what are the 5 biggest takeaways? Cool? This is not an exam. You're not going to submit this. It's for your own benefit, so do this, all right? We're almost done. Again, just a reminder, if you're finished with that and you're waiting, you can go to that link and submit your questions. We're about to start a Q&A session in just a couple of minutes. All right, guys, 15 more seconds. Okay, so hopefully you guys got some stuff written down. I actually just wanted to make a few points of my own because honestly, can you go back to the previous slide? Yeah, this is an amazing slide, honestly. There's not much on it in terms of words or pictures or anything, but that is golden because that covers almost everything. It's so comprehensive. And if you can go through this list and you can make 1 or 2 points for yourself under each one of these things that, hey, I need to do this, I need to make sure I do this for work, for my social life, for my this and that, do that, right? That will benefit you tremendously. If you haven't taken a picture of this or you want to remember this, do this right now. Take a picture of it so that you have it for yourself. Because this is almost like a checklist, right? Every single week you can sit down and be like, okay, how did I perform in these areas? And how am I going to improve myself for the upcoming week, right? All right, so just a few points that I thought stood out to me. I'm going to do this in about 3 or 4 minutes, and then we're going to move on to the Q&A session. Number 1, sleep. A lot of times when we think about sleep, we don't sleep on time because we have something that we need to complete urgently. Hey, I have an assignment due in a couple of days. I just feel like doing it right now, or I need to get something done so urgently. I do this with work all the time and with my business. But the truth is, most of the time what happens is I'm working and I fall asleep, and then I don't wake up on time, and it's just all lousy because I maybe fell asleep on the sofa, or I fell asleep on my chair or something. So you don't get comfortable sleep. You're uncomfortable the next morning. Maybe you don't wake up on time. Maybe you miss Fajr. And now the next day is pretty much ruined for the most part. At least the beginning of the next day is ruined. Right? One of my teachers told me that if you want a good life, you have to have a good day. And if you want a good day, then you have to have a good night. Right? Your day is dependent on the night before. So don't jeopardize that. If you have something to do, work to get done, trust me, go to sleep instead of thinking that, hey, I have to get this done right now. Wake up early the next morning and do your work. And trust me, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the early hours are the ones filled with the most barakah. If you have ever worked early in the morning, before Fajr, after Fajr, that time, the 3-4 hours you work, it feels like you got 7-8 hours of work done. It's unbelievable. It's a miracle from Allah that happens. But trust me, try it once. Just test it for yourself and you'll see the difference. Number 2, eating. I have no right to talk about eating, as you can see. But what I can say is that I needed to get your attention somehow. So, number 1, they already mentioned it. Eat a huge breakfast. This has made a huge difference in my life. And secondly, I don't think this was mentioned, but drink lots and lots of water. You know, in America, we have the most water in the entire world as a resource. We have the most. But 66% of people in this country are dehydrated. Can you believe that? We don't drink enough water. We don't take breaks throughout the day just to drink water. We'll sit down, maybe in the morning we drink a glass, and then for the next 8 hours we don't drink anything. Or maybe with lunch we drink another glass, and then with dinner, and that's it. We need to drink enough water, right? And one simple thing you can do to make this happen for yourself that I do is set an alarm on your phone every hour or notification that says, get up and drink a glass of water, get up and drink a glass of water, right? We need to have at least 8 to 10 glasses of water on a daily basis. Number 3, prayers. This is all about priorities. A lot of times we put our studies before our prayers, we put our work before our prayers, we put our friends before our prayers. And that is not going to lead you to a successful life for this life or the next life. So we need to make sure that our priorities are straight. And honestly, prayer, it's only 30 minutes a day total if you think about it, right? And just do it, meaning like, hey, even if you're not, you don't have the most khushu or you're not the most concentrative in your prayers, just get it done. Just start, just get the act, just go there and pray, even if it's quickly, even if you're not into it, just doing it and just showing Allah that you're putting in that effort, He will make it easier for you and hopefully even add some concentration and help you have that concentration in your prayer. There was even there was a mufti actually, and I'm not a scholar, I'm not making a fatwa for you that you can do this, but he said that if you're so busy with your classes, and if you can, combine prayers, even if you combine Dhuhr and Asr just because you don't want to get out of your class or whatever, you're in an inconvenient situation, do that. It's better for you to combine Dhuhr and Asr and pray both than to not pray at all, than to miss your prayers. Again, this is not a ruling, you can talk to Imam Nadim about this, but that's what he said regarding this. If you're in a difficult situation, inconvenience, it's better for you to pray, even if you're combining, than to not pray at all. All right, the next thing is hygiene. The way you feel and look has an impact on your productivity. Have you ever worked when your hair's messed up, or when you didn't trim for the guys, or if you're like just wearing terrible clothes or in your terrible environment or whatever? It has an impact on the way you work, the productivity that you have, right? So that's where hygiene, in my opinion, just one point I wanted to make, it's important even in terms of your productivity. It's not just about the way you look or the way you smell. It's really about how it impacts your productivity as well. All right. Studying. He mentioned this, block time. Block time means that you basically have a certain amount of time, a certain period of time where you have no distractions. Put your phone away. All those browser tabs that you opened with like Netflix and those YouTube videos that you open, but you're like, I'll watch this later. And those articles that you open, you're like, I'll read this later. And the Facebook post that went viral, and you're like, I'll do this later, right? There's like, I have 30 tabs open on my laptop. Like, put all those aside. Just one tab, one browser, if you're doing your work, studying, whatever, right? A lot of times when it comes to studying, you don't even need your laptop. You have a book, you have a textbook, so you just open it up. You should not have any distractions with you. Set up block times and do it slowly, right? It's very difficult for us with the attention spans we have nowadays to focus for a long time. So start with 5 minutes. Start with 5 minutes without your phone or your laptop, without distraction. Then go to 10 minutes, then go to 15 minutes, then go to 20 minutes. And soon enough, you'll be there where you can sit for 60, 90 minutes and you're completely focused without distractions. And then the final thing that was kind of mentioned is plan your weeks. This is extremely important, not just from in high school, but for life, right? If you sit down just for 15, 30 minutes during your week on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and you look at what you've done in the previous week in all of these areas, and then you plan out the rest of the week. it makes your life so much easier because you can plan out the studying that you want to do on a daily basis. You can plan out the work that you have to do on a daily basis. Okay, I'm going to complete this, and this task for this project that I have due in 2 weeks. Because if you don't do that, then you get in a situation where you're cramming everything. You're like, okay, the project's due in 3 weeks, I'm good. Okay, it's 2 weeks, it's good. 1 week, it's fine. 3 days, oh shoot, what am I supposed to do, right? You didn't plan it out properly. So if you plan it out on a weekly basis, it makes your life so much easier. And plan out your day as well. Have daily tasks that you want to complete. Check those off as you go through. All right. So those are just some of my points that I wanted to make. They did an awesome job, going through this slide. And you've got 4 different perspectives. It's not like there's one person sitting up here and telling 4, and then plus my small perspective at the end. That should have been extremely valuable for you all. And hopefully you guys took notes and the 5 biggest takeaways. Now we're going to start the Q&A session. We're going to do it for about one more slide? Okay. One more slide and then Q&A session. By the way, I think the SAT stuff we're going to do after the Dhuhr? Or college prep stuff? Okay. Right. Okay, so the college prep workshop that's after the Dhuhr, that's only for seniors, but the first few minutes they're going to cover one slide about college prep, college applications that we didn't have time to cover right now. They're going to cover that right after the Dhuhr, so you guys can stay around for that before we actually get into the seniors only workshop part of it. All right? Cool.
Right. So class rank, or the first point, ranking, it's all based on ranked GPA. So if you're not familiar with this yet, get familiar. There's 2 types of GPA. There's a college GPA, that's the one out of 4.0. So that one has no influence whether you're taking pre-AP, AP. There can be a kid who is ranked, and this has happened to me, ranked maybe 50, 60 spots lower than you, but has a higher college GPA than you. Because the college GPA does not factor in pre-AP, AP, IB classes, anything like that, dual credit. It doesn't. It just says, what did you get in the class? And we'll calculate that out of whatever percent, or get the percentage, and then make that into a 4.0 scale. Ranked GPA is a little different because that has AP and dual credit and IB factoring into it. Meaning, if you take an AP class, depending on if you go to Wiley or PISD, look into it yourself, or RISD, or whatever ISD you go into, look into it yourself. Say, okay, I think I can manage, it would be awesome if you could manage all pre-AP and AP. If you think you can, take it, because it really pays off. But let's say you can't. Say, okay, which subjects do I think I can really excel at? I'm going to take those pre-AP and AP classes, because that will boost your ranking. And it really, I know there's a few questions on here as we're seeing that some people are asking about, like, okay, grades in high school, do they matter when you get to college, stuff like that? Well, first off, your grades in high school, how are you going to get a scholarship going into college, right? I think, like, as we can all attest, getting some scholarship money or going to school for free or getting paid to go to school is a really awesome feeling. Alhamdulillah, I can tell you that from experience. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. That I can tell you that from experience. I don't have to worry about I can't afford this class. No, they're paying me to go to school. So if you want to get to that level, then work hard in high school. And we'll address the class rank and GPA from high school not mattering anymore in college, probably a little more in depth. But that's my number one thing. You want to first get into the college you want to get into. And even if you can't, let's say, get into that college, get that scholarship, because going to school for free is an awesome thing. So I guess I basically summed up ranking and GPA on my part.
Yeah, to follow up with that, ranking and GPA, they're honestly the first thing that colleges will look at when you're applying. When you look at applications, most of them, after you enter your personal information, the first thing they ask is, what was your GPA, what was your rank, what was your unweighted GPA, which is college GPA, same thing. It does make a difference in what colleges you can go to, because you might think if you're generally PISD, top 10% gets auto admission to UT schools. But, top 10% here, this is one high school. And then there are, at least in Texas alone, or say in Plano ISD, there's 3 high schools, right? Plano ISD has 3 senior high schools with a class of about 2,000 to 3,000 each. So that's 9,000 students. If you're 10%, you're 1 out of the top 900 kids. That's just one city. Imagine how many cities and ISDs there are in the entire country. If you're in just the top 10%, you're 1 out of at least 1 million. You see that now when you put into the bigger perspective, it's not that much. So being content with being the top here, or at least among the top, won't be enough when you're applying to colleges across the country. Because these colleges, everyone's applying to. Harvard, everywhere. People, even from people across the border, international students, they apply. And you're going up against them too. So you need to make sure that GPA ranking doesn't only apply to if you're better, again, than the person next to you, but if you can compete with people all from anywhere, and if you're ever put it up against them.
I think before I pass it, I'm just going to sum up whatever's on the slide so we can save time, on my part at least. I think we basically talked about how the AP and IB versus dual credit, all that stuff works. Well, the AP, you have to take a test at the end. I think a lot of y'all know this already. Dual credit, you just get the credit. AP tests look really good when it comes to college apps, especially if you get 4s and 5s. It looks awesome because they know that you can take like a final exam in college and you can perform on a college level exam. With extracurriculars, we kind of talked about it in the last slide. Relationship with teachers and administrators, I think this is huge because you don't want to go back to your school and when you walk in through the doors, they're like, how may I help you? And you're like, yeah, my name is this. I came to visit this teacher because I need a recommendation. And you go to the teacher's room and she's like, can I help you? What's your name again? You don't want that to happen to you. You want to leave with some sort of relationship with teachers. I know we're having it with Outreach, we're having an educator appreciation event. Invite your favorite teacher to that. When the invitation cards come out and stuff like that, invite your favorite teacher. Because building that one-on-one relationship really pays off. Because when you want to get into college and need recommendation letters, you don't want the teacher just be like, yeah, so-and-so, Ahmed was a great guy. He did well in school. I think he got a B. I don't even know because I'm not sure who Ahmed actually is. I have like 6 Ahmeds in my class. You want them to actually know you where they have some personal story to write about you in the recommendation letter because that really, really pays off.
For ranking and GPA, I think the most important thing is it's very sad that I'm saying this, but I know a lot of kids in high school who never bother to even check up on their ranking and GPA throughout their freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year until when it came to that point where they were submitting it, and then they go, okay, yeah, I should probably check what it is. And by then it's too late. So you keep track of these things all throughout, your 4 years of high school. Relationship with teachers and administrations, I think Asim summed it up pretty well. We have invitations for the educator appreciation in the office. So if you guys want to go over there, grab invites, invite your teachers, have them, come see the masjid, show them, get a closer relationship with them. You guys can come too. These things really do help you. These recommendations, they help you so much in college, and not even for, job recommendations, they really do help you for a lot of different things. For extracurriculars, the only thing that I want to probably say for this is it kind of goes back to time management. You guys got to figure out if you can handle so many things. I had a friend in high school who would sign up for everything, and she couldn't drive either. So she signed up for like so many clubs, and she was in like sports, and she wouldn't even be able to attend some of these clubs because they were meeting on the same days, and she would attend one and then she'd go run to the other one. You guys got to manage your time and learn how to balance everything. Sign up for things that you're interested in. If you're not interested in it, you just want it to put on your college app, it's really not going to do any good. If you're interested in the subject or you're interested in whatever they're talking about, then go for it and really look into it.
So one thing I would say about ranking in GPA is to make sure you start off your base strong, because I personally put in no effort 9th grade, so I did terribly. And then working my way up from that was so tough because that is always factored into your overall GPA. So it's never too late to put in more effort. So just make sure that you're always working towards that. And like Hannah said, make sure you keep checking up on your GPA. You want to know how you're doing so that you have the time to fix it before you have to submit it to the colleges. And then also, at least this is my experience, because AP has a higher weight in your GPA, a lot of my friends would be taking multiple AP classes that they couldn't handle, but they wanted the higher GPA. There's no point in taking an AP class if you're going to get a low grade in it versus getting a higher class in an honors or regulars course. So only take what you can handle and don't try to push yourself farther than you can actually go.
Yeah. Sorry. I wanted to say something else about AP. Do the research, especially if you know what college you want to attend to. Like I had an idea that UTD was going to be where I was applying to. do the research and see what classes, what AP exams they accept, because I made this mistake where I didn't do that, and I paid for all these exams and I got the score, but they didn't accept that that class. I made that mistake my junior year, sophomore, and freshman. But my senior year, I actually did the research, and any AP class that I took where I didn't need, the exam didn't, like, you know, you're paying this $90, I think, for the exam. If it didn't transfer over to UTD, I was like, I'm not going to take it because there's no point in me wasting that money taking the exam and then not having that score transfer over.
So moving on quickly before we end, we want to touch on standardized testing. So we talked about how GPA and ranking sets you apart. The next step is your standardized tests. That's the second page of your application. They'll ask what was your SAT score, ACT scores, PSAT scores. In order of importance of admission, SAT, ACT are about equal for most colleges, and then PSAT. But the thing about PSAT is that you get lots of scholarships out of PSAT. It does factor into admissions, but mostly the National Merit Scholarships that you can get from it that really help with any college that you're going to. Most of them will accept that scholarship. So yeah, PSAT, you take it in your 11th grade year. And, you know, people, when they take it in 10th grade, they take it, it's the practice one, you know, so they like take it and they're like, okay, it wasn't that bad. You don't need to practice. Maybe next year you'll learn more and do better. But these tests, they're not something that you can practice for the day before. You need continuous practice with it. You need to take lots of practice tests, find questions online, attend seminars if you can. I know a lot of kids that have gone to KD, and I know kids who have done equally as well, who've just bought books off of Amazon and studied from that. But the main thing for these tests is exposure. You need to learn the type of questions they'll ask. You need to learn how they'll ask them and what kind of answers you'll get. Because once you find the pattern in that, these tests are easy to ace. They don't test what you know. They just test if you can pull from information and giving them a correct answer. I'll say from personal experience, SAT reading, the passages are not hard to read. You know, you could finish, if you're sitting on your own in an unstressed situation, you could probably read and understand in less than 10 minutes. All these tests do is they test your readiness for college. They don't test your knowledge. So the thing is, to be ready for these, you need to put in the practice, because reading out of a book, hoping that you know the science for the ACT section, that won't help you, because the types of questions they ask are unique to these tests. Yeah, and along with SAT, one more thing, there's SAT subject tests. You should eventually take at least 2 of those. Most colleges will ask for 1 or 2 maximum most of the time. And these tests really show your proficiency. Now, these are a little different. They'll show how good you are in a subject. So I took SAT for biology and math, and since I'm taking a biochemistry major, those apply. And those did help me get admissions into a lot of colleges that I wanted to go to. So I think that's all there is for the standardized testing.
Yeah, with the subject test, I would just recommend, just like Shrive said, since it is testing that your subject knowledge, take it after you take the AP test, because the AP test is actually easier than the subject test. Just a note, I know Farzan could probably say this as well, but we're going to actually answer the questions right after, before we do the college apps workshop. So any seniors, stay back, especially if you have your laptop and you're actually staying for the college apps workshop, stay back, because we're going to actually help you guys out with the actual application process.
Yeah, and one last thing is, when you're looking for subject tests and stuff, go to your college website and see what they want or what they like. Some of them have preferences of taking math and science. Some of them don't care what you take. But make sure that you're checking up on that, because you don't want to take something and find out it was completely useless later.
So Q&A session after the... Okay. All right, guys. So yeah, please stick around after Dhuhr for the Q&A session, as well as the kind of session on college apps. College apps. Okay, cool. And then the seniors only, it's going to be the college apps workshop. So quickly, I just wanted to request something from you guys. If you can go to that link that you see on top, the Google short link, and go ahead and just submit your email address, because I'm going to send out a survey to all of you to get feedback from you on this event, what you guys thought of it. We'll make it anonymous so that even if you thought it wasn't good or whatever, it's fine. But we need your feedback because we want to try to do as many of these events and activities as possible. And if you guys give us feedback that can help us improve it, then it'll be much better the next time we do this kind of event or any other type of event. So please just take 1 minute, just go to that link if you have your mobile phone or device or whatever, laptop. Just go ahead and all you need to do is enter your email, click submit, and we'll send out a survey, and that will really help us, and it will help you guys too, again, for future programs, because we'll make it better, all right? So we're going to go ahead and make adhan for dhuhr. If you guys can just help us move the chairs a little bit back, that'd be appreciated, and then y'all can also get some snacks on the way out. The brothers have already destroyed their table, but the sisters' table is still right here, right behind us, so y'all can go ahead and take some snacks and refreshments. Thank you so much for attending, guys. Assalamu alaikum.